Level 1. The volunteer. You're 19, maybe 20, and your hands won't stop sweating. The recruiter has a poster behind his desk of a man fast roping out of a helicopter, and you've memorized every pixel of it. You tell yourself it's about the country, about proving something. The truth is smaller and more honest. You want to find out if you're worth anything when it's hard. Your mother cries at the kitchen table the night you tell her. Not loudly. She just sets down her fork and stares at a spot on the wall, and you understand for the first time that love can look exactly like grief. The bus to basic leaves at 4 a.m. You watch your town shrink in the side mirror until it's just a smear of streetlights, and then it's nothing. The first weeks break you down on purpose. The yelling you expected. What surprises you is the loneliness in a room full of 50 other men. You're so tired you cry in the shower where the water hides it, and you swear you're the only one. Years later, you'll learn everyone did. Nobody ever said a word. You're good at the basic stuff. Push-ups, running, following orders. But there's a quiet voice in your head that whispers, "You're average. You're forgettable. You'll go home, and nobody will remember your face." Then, one afternoon, a man with a faded tab on his shoulder walks the formation, looking for volunteers. He doesn't sell it. He doesn't lie. He just says, "Most of you won't make it," and something in your chest leans toward him like a plant toward a window. You raise your hand before your brain catches up. That night you can't sleep. Not from fear exactly. From the feeling that you've just stepped off a ledge in the dark and you won't know how far the fall is until you land. Level 2. Selection. They never tell you the time. That's the first thing they take from you. You wake when they want you awake, eat when they let you, stop when they say stop, and they almost never say stop. The land they run you through is cold and wet and indifferent, a place that doesn't care whether you live. And somehow that honesty is easier than people pretending to. By day 3, your feet are no longer feet. They're two raw things at the ends of your legs that you carry like luggage. You unlace your boots at a rest halt, and a piece of your heel comes with the sock, and you look at it the way you'd look at a stranger's wound. Detached. Curious. Then you lace back up because the alternative is quitting, and quitting has a sound here. A bell, a truck door, a name read off a list. And you've decided you'd rather hurt than make that sound. Guys you liked are gone by the end of the first week. Big, strong guys, the ones you bet money on in your head. They sit at the back of a vehicle wrapped in a blanket, staring out, already becoming a story other people tell. You stop learning names. There's always a moment, where your body simply refuses. You're on a hillside in the rain with a load that's trying to fold your spine, and your legs stop answering. Not out of drama. They just go quiet, like a phone dying. And in that silence, you discover the thing they've been hunting for the whole time, the part of you underneath the muscle, the part that decides. You don't find strength. You find a kind of stubborn, ugly refusal that has nothing to do with glory. You take one more step, then another. You're not thinking about country anymore, or the poster, or your mother. You're thinking about the next boot fall and nothing else, and that narrowing is the closest thing to peace you've felt in years. When they finally call your number and tell you that you've made it, you don't celebrate. You sit down in the mud and feel absolutely nothing, and that nothing scares you more than the pain ever did. Level 3. The long course. Passing selection only bought you a seat at the real table. Now they have to build you into something useful, and that takes longer than you'd believe. You learn the trade in pieces, each one a little universe. How to read terrain like a sentence. How to move so a man 15 feet away never hears you. How to put rounds exactly where you mean to, again and again, until your hands know it better than your mind does. You clean your weapon so many times you could do it blind, and one night you realize you actually are. Eyes shut, fingers working, the parts coming apart and back together like a prayer you no longer have to think about. There's a precision they demand that goes past the physical. They teach you to stay calm while your heart hammers, to slow your breathing when everything in you wants to run. They put you in cold water and dark rooms and impossible problems with no good answers, and they watch how you bend. You change in ways you can't see and your old friends can. You go home on a short leave, and the kid you grew up with cracks a joke about a fight he got into at a bar, proud of himself, and you just look at him. You're not judging him. You've simply learned what real violence costs, and the gap between you opens up right there in his backyard, and neither of you knows how to close it. You start sleeping lightly. You sit with your back to walls. You clock the exits in every room without deciding to. The training isn't something you do anymore. It's becoming the shape of you. The day they hand you the tab or the beret or whatever your tribe calls its mark, you expect to feel finished, arrived. Instead, an older man pins it on and leans in close and says, quietly, so only you can hear, "This is where it starts." And he's not being dramatic. He's warning you. You just don't have the ears yet to hear it. Level 4. Downrange. The first time the world actually tries to kill you, it's almost boring right up until it isn't. Hours of nothing. Heat that sits on you like a wet animal. The radio chatter, the dust, the particular smell of a place that isn't yours. You've rehearsed this 1,000 times, and the rehearsals lied. They never captured how slow the waiting is, or how your mind drifts to stupid things, a song, a girl, the taste of a soda from a vending machine 10,000 miles away. Then the air comes apart. There's no music, no slow motion, just a sound that punches through your chest and a voice that might be yours screaming a word, and your body doing things your mind hasn't authorized yet. The training takes the wheel. You're moving, you're behind cover, you're returning fire, and a strange clarity descends. Everything's sharp-edged and very, very quiet, like the universe leaned in close. The man next to you, a guy you ate breakfast with, takes a hit. You drag him by the strap of his kit while the ground spits up around you, and his weight is wrong, heavier than a person should be, and you keep telling him he's fine, in a voice so steady it frightens you. He lives. This time, when it's over, you sit against a wall, and your hands finally start to shake, now that they're allowed to. Someone passes you water. Nobody speaks. The helicopter ride out is silent, just the rotors and the wind and 10 men staring at their own boots, each of them somewhere private. That night you call home on a satellite line, and your mother asks if you're being safe. And you say yes, of course, it's quiet over here. The lie comes out smooth and easy, fully formed, like it had been waiting in your mouth for years. You hang up and stare at the phone. You just discovered you can do that now. Lie to the people you love to protect them from you. And it didn't even feel like lying. Level 5. The team. You used to think brotherhood was a word for posters. Then you found the real thing, and it ruined you for ordinary friendship forever. These men know you in a way your family never will. They've seen you at your worst hour, covered in someone else's blood, and they didn't flinch. They know the exact pitch of your voice when you're scared, and the joke that gets you every time, and the photo you keep folded in your helmet. There are no performances left between you. You've been stripped down to the frame, and they've seen the frame, and they stayed. You'd die for them. It's not a phrase here. It's a fact you've quietly accepted, the way you accept gravity. And the knowledge that they do the same for you is the warmest thing you own. The humor is brutal and constant. You laugh harder in those rooms than you ever have anywhere, the kind of laughing that bends you double, because the only way to carry what you carry is to make it absurd. A man does an impression of a sergeant, and you can't breathe. And for 10 minutes, nobody is afraid of anything. There's a guy on the team, call him the kid, though he's only a year younger, who reminds you of yourself before all this. Hungry, a little too eager. You take him under your wing without meaning to. You teach him the small things that keep men alive, the things no manual covers. You start to love him like a younger brother. You won't realize until much later that letting yourself care like that was the most dangerous thing you ever did. Out here, love is just a hostage you've handed to the future. But you don't know that yet. Right now, you're in a plywood room that smells like sweat and burnt coffee, and your brothers are around you, and you feel something you'll spend the rest of your life trying to find again and never will. Level 6. The house you left. Home becomes a place you visit, like a museum of a life that used to be yours. You walk back through your own front door, and everything is 6 inches to the left of where you remember. Your wife has rearranged the kitchen. Your daughter is taller, shy with you for the first hour, hiding behind her mother's leg from the stranger who keeps trying to hug her. You crouch down to her level, and she studies your face like she's deciding whether to trust the report that this man is her father. You try to come back. You really do. But part of you stayed downrange, and you can't seem to call it home. At dinner, your wife tells a long story about a problem with the neighbors, a fence, a property line, and you nod in the right places, while a colder part of your brain ranks it as nothing, as noise, as a problem that has never once threatened anyone's life. You hate yourself for thinking it. You think it anyway. The 4th of July? The fireworks go off and you're on the floor of your own living room before you've decided to move, heart slamming, and your daughter laughs because she thinks it's a game, and your wife's face does something quiet and sad that she's clearly done before. You're standing in the cereal aisle of a grocery store, and the sheer abundance of it makes you furious for no reason you can name. 40 kinds of cereal. People arguing about which one. You leave the cart and walk out to the parking lot and just breathe. The empty chair at family dinners has a shape now. They've learned to set the table without you. They've learned to be a family that runs fine when you're gone, because they had to, because you were gone so much. And the terrible truth that you'll never say out loud is this: they're better at missing you than at having you here. You've trained them without meaning to need you less. You leave again on a Sunday. Your daughter doesn't cry this time. That's somehow worse. Level 7. The quiet. Somewhere in the years your feelings move out and they don't leave a note. It's not sadness. Sadness would be something. It's more like a dimmer switch turned low on everything at once. You see a sunset and register that it's beautiful the way you'd register a fact in a book. You attend a wedding and watch people weep with joy and feel like an anthropologist studying a species you used to belong to. You've seen too much. The mind is a sane organ doing a sane thing. It built a wall to keep you working, and the wall did its job, and now you can't find the door in it. The kid on the team, the one you loved, he's gone now. It happened fast and ugly and far from home, and you carried the news in your own mouth to a woman in a doorway who already knew from your face. You didn't cry then. You haven't cried since. You're starting to wonder if you've forgotten how, the way a limb in a cast forgets how to move. You're efficient now, frighteningly good at your work. The fear that used to ride you everywhere has thinned into something almost clinical, a quiet hum you've stopped noticing. New guys watch you the way you once watched the man with the faded tab, and you recognize the look, and you can't bring yourself to tell them the truth, that the calm they admire is just the surface of a frozen lake. You drink a little more than you used to, not enough to call it anything, just enough to feel the wall thaw an inch in the dark so you can confirm there's still something behind it. One night you stand in your hotel room between deployments and you try, deliberately, to feel something real. You think about your daughter, your wife, the kid, your mother at that kitchen table a lifetime ago. You wait. Nothing comes. And you stand there in the dark, an expert at war, and a stranger to your own heart, and the only thing you feel is the cold dread of a man realizing he may have left the most important part of himself in a country he can't even legally admit he was in. Level 8. The ones who look to you. They make you a leader, which is a polite way of saying they put other men's lives on your account. You're good at it, and you hate that you're good at it. You can read a room of operators in 3 seconds. You know which one is hiding an injury, which one is one bad day from breaking, which one to put on point, and which one to keep close. You plan things in your sleep. You wake with solutions already half built. But the weight is different now, and heavier. When it was just your life, you were free. Now every decision has other men's children behind it, kids who've never met you, who'll grow up or won't based on whether you got the terrain right, whether you trusted the wrong report, whether you said, go, when you should have said, wait. You send men out, and you stay back on the radio, and that's a new kind of agony nobody prepared you for. The waiting, listening to their breathing over the net, to the gunfire, to the long silences that stop your heart. It was easier being the one in danger. Out there, you only had to be brave. Here you have to be right. And being right isn't always enough, and when it isn't, the math of it is yours to carry forever. You lose one, a good one, on your call, on a night where every choice was bad, and you picked the least bad, and it still wasn't good enough. You write the letter to his family yourself because you won't let anyone else do it. And you sit with a pen for 3 hours trying to fit a man into a paragraph, and you fail because no one fits. The younger guys come to you with their fears now, late at night, the way you once needed someone to come to. You tell them the thing the older man told you all those years ago. This is where it starts. And you finally understand it wasn't a warning about the work. It was a warning about how much of your soul the work would ask you to spend on other people until there was almost none left for you. Level 9, the fracture. The breaking doesn't announce itself. There's no single moment, no clean crack. It's a slow erosion you only notice once the ground is already gone. You start losing time. You'll drive somewhere and arrive with no memory of the road. Conversations slide past you. Your hands, the ones that could field strip a rifle blind, start to tremble at odd hours over nothing. A closing door, a smell, a particular blue of sky that your body insists is dangerous and your mind can't explain. The nights are the worst. Sleep stops being rest and becomes a place you're afraid to go because the men you couldn't save are waiting there, patient, and they ask you the same question every time and you never have an answer. You start staying up to avoid them. You learn the exact color the ceiling turns at 4 a.m. Your body, which served you like a loyal animal for 2 decades, begins sending the bill. The knee, the back, the ear that rings now and never stops, a thin electric whine that's there in every silence, the sound of all those years still going off inside your skull. You take the pills they give you for the pain and notice, with detached interest, how much you look forward to them. Your marriage doesn't end in a fight. It ends in a quiet kitchen, your wife looking at you with more tenderness than anger, saying she misses you, that she's missed you for years, that she's tired of mourning a man who's still alive. And the cruelest part is, you can't argue because she's right, and you can't fix it because you don't know where you went. There's a morning, and you'll never tell anyone how close it got, where you sit on the edge of the bed, and the whole machine of you just stops. No plan, no tears, just a vast, flat exhaustion. The feeling of a soldier who has carried a pack uphill for 20 years, finally setting it down and discovering he can't remember how to stand without it. That's the morning you understand. The war was never going to kill you out there. It was always going to follow you home and do it slowly, in your own bed, where no one could pin a medal on it. Level 10, after. They give you a ceremony, a handshake, a folded flag of words, and then the door closes behind you, and the silence is enormous. For 20 years, you knew exactly who you were and what you were for. Now you stand in a closet full of clothes that aren't a uniform, and you don't know what to put on, because none of it means anything. The structure that held your days together is just gone, and without it, you discover how much of you was scaffolding. The world out here moves differently. People are upset about small things, and you genuinely try, to carry the right volume. You get a normal job because you're supposed to, and your coworkers complain about the printer and the parking and a meeting that ran long, and you sit there feeling like a man who's been to the bottom of the ocean trying to make conversation about the weather. They have no idea what you are. You'll never tell them. You wouldn't know how to start. You see your old brothers less and less. Distance, life, the slow drift. But when one of them calls, and one always eventually calls at 2 a.m. voice wrong, you'd cross the country without a second thought, because that bond didn't expire when the careers did. Some of them don't make it through this part. You go to those funerals. You stand at the back. You don't cry there either. But afterward, alone in your truck in the parking lot, sometimes the wall finally gives, and 20 years come out at once, and you let them. You make peace with your daughter slowly, the long way. She's grown now, with a life you weren't there for most of, and she doesn't fully forgive you, and you don't expect her to. But she sits with you on the porch sometimes, and you talk about nothing, and that nothing is the richest thing you have. Here's what no one tells you at the start, on the bus, in the parking lot, when your hands won't stop sweating. You won't remember most of the missions. The names of the towns blur. The medals end up in a drawer. What stays, what actually stays, is smaller and stranger. The The laugh of a man who's gone, the smell of coffee in a plywood room, the weight of a brother's arm over your shoulders, a sunset you were too numb to feel at the time and can only feel now, looking back. You gave them your strength, your youth, your softness, your sleep, your marriage, whole years of your one short life. And you'd be lying if you said you wanted it back. That's the part you can never explain to anyone who wasn't there. The man in the recruiter's parking lot, the one who never signed, the one still stuck in ordinary traffic on an ordinary Tuesday, he had a quieter life, a whole one, maybe a happier one, but he never knew what he was made of. You do. And on the bad nights when the ringing in your ear is the only sound in the house, that's the one thing that lets you finally close your eyes. You found out. Most people never do.